tax season is upon us. The two dates you need to think about are April the 30th. If you're a salaried employee, that's the deadline for you to file your tax return. If you are self-employed, it is June 16th for you to gather up all those documents and receipts and submit them to the CRA. Let's talk to Jamie Golombek. He's been coming on this channel for years to talk to us about issues just like this. He's managing director at CIBC Private Wealth, and he joins us, as you can see, in the studio. Jamie, thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
So let's talk about first of all, we don't want to spend the whole segment talking about this. Let's talk about the capital gains inclusion rate change, which I think, as everybody knows, hasn't taken place, but the CRA has been acting, I guess, as if it has taken place, and to add a further level of confusion, leading candidates in the Liberal race are saying that they are now ready to not proceed with that. So what is a taxpayer supposed to do if he or she has experienced a gain that meets the threshold of those new rules which have not yet been passed?
Right. So the good news is that a couple of weeks ago, the CRA did clarify, and the government also postponed the capital gains inclusion rate increase that was supposed to go to 2/3 for people with over $250,000 of gains. That is actually not in effect for 2024. In fact, it's been deferred till January 1st, 2026, which means it may never happen. So ultimately, this will be up to a future government to either bring it in or not bring it in. We already know the Conservatives said they won't do it. Both the leading candidates in the Liberal Party said they're not going to do it. Yeah. I don't think it'll ever see the light of day. The issue for tax filing season is that it was too late to change the forms.
Right.
So in fact, when you look at the Schedule 3 to report capital gains, there are actually two sections. Right. One for gains before June 25th and one for gains after. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because you actually add them together and multiply by 50%. So even though it's a little bit confusing, and your tax slips, your T3s, your T5s will have two different boxes for pre and post, it's all of no significance.
Right.
If you use a software or use a tax professional, it'll all work out just fine. 50% inclusion rate for 2024.
So what a taxpayer does is fill in the forms as they are prescribed and submit, and the CRA will understand what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. And the forms are correct at the end of the form. So at the end of the form, even though it has two different periods, it actually multiplies the total by 50%. So there's no 2/3 anywhere on that form, which is good news.
Okay. There's also some new rules on expenses related to short-term rentals, i.e. what we often refer to as Airbnbs, but they're Airbnbs that don't meet the municipal rules. They're so-called non-compliant short-term rentals, or Airbnbs.
Well, that's right. So for 2024, the government has a rule to disincentivize people from running illegal Airbnbs when the municipality doesn't allow it, which basically says if you have a short-term rental, so 90 days or less, and it's in a non-compliant region or the municipality, then you're not allowed to write off any of your expenses against the income that you must include on your tax return. So the idea is really to deter people from doing this, but that's valid for the 2024 tax return, so beware.
Okay. The RRSP deadline is March the 3rd. And just remind us, it's very basic, but remind us that you can make a RRSP contribution in calendar 25, and it will apply to your 2024 taxes, correct?
Well, that's right. So we've literally got just over a week left to still do some tax planning for last year, which is pretty rare. Most of the tax planning we're doing now is for 2025. But the instant of RRSP contributions, you do have until that extended March 3rd deadline. Normally it's March 1st. It falls on a Saturday, so it's now March 3rd. To make that RSP contribution and claim that as a deduction, assuming you have the room, on your 2024 return, which we start filing next week.
Okay. Is there any similar deadline for tax-free savings accounts or registered educational savings?
There is no deadlines at all for TFSAs and RESPs. The contribution room carries forward indefinitely. There's never really a rush in most situations to contribute by the end of the year for those.
Okay. I will be going through my email inbox before too long to look for my charitable receipts, my charitable donation receipts for calendar 2024. What's the deadline there? And this applies only, the only eligible donations are those that took place in calendar 2024, correct?
Sort of. So there was a special extension because of the postal strike that we had sort of in December. The government actually extended the donation deadline to next Friday, February the 28th. So you actually have until next Friday the 28th to make a donation. It has to be either cash or credit card, so it can't be like gifts of property or through payroll deduction. But any gift that you make between now and February 28th is actually deductible in 2024 if you want, or you can certainly save it for 2025.
Okay. Is this a difficult time to be looking for an accountant if you're somebody who's done your taxes in the past and you've decided, as I did a few years ago, it's time to turn this over to somebody who really knows what they're doing? Is this a difficult time to find somebody?
Now is the right time to do it. I wouldn't do it on April 30th. You may not get a lot of responses, but I think, late February, early March, still lots of time. Best thing is speak to friends and family, see who they've been using for years, if someone they're comfortable with, and then go with that referral.